We've all been there, haven't we? The quiet moment when we begin to question ourselves. Not because we stopped caring, but because continuing suddenly feels uncertain, exhausting, or even pointless. I remember the first time I really felt that, not in a dramatic, headline making way, but in a quiet, personal way that made me pause and wonder if all the effort I was putting in was actually worth it. It was during my time at the Kennedy Space Station simulation program. From the outside, it probably sounded exciting, complex, problem solving. It involved a lot of high level tasks, simulations that felt futuristic, and it was. But what people didn't see is the constant demand it places on you. The hours of work, the small margin of error, the relentless learning curve. These were moments when I would spend hours on a task, poring over details, experimenting, making adjustments, and seeing almost nothing. Not failure exactly, but not really visible progress either. And in those moments, doubt often creeps in. Not the kind of doubt that shouts quit, but the quiet, persistent one that whispers, am I really getting anywhere? Am I even capable of this? It's easy to misinterpret silence as failure, to think that effort without immediate feedback means you're failing, and for a while I began to question myself, my ability, and even my reasons for being there. But slowly I learned something important. Persistence is not intensity, it's not doing more, faster, or harder. Persistence is consistency in uncertainty. It's showing up day after day, even when the results feel invisible. It's staying through the phase where improvement is happening quietly in ways you can't yet measure. That was my real understanding of what it means to keep going. The next lesson came in a completely different way. The WWDC debate tournament. Here the challenge wasn't just personal, it was collective. I was guiding a team new just like myself to debating, and suddenly every decision I made affected not only my own performance but theirs as well. And as a whole, reflecting what I could do or our team could do while representing my school in this inter-school debate tournament. We started off pretty strong on the first and second day, 2 wins in the first 2 rounds. The wins were pretty much foreseen. We could predict after our performances that we were about to win the round. But our confidence became high, and when it came to the third round, a loss that shook us. Not a small loss, but one that made me question everything: our strategy, our preparation, our utilization of the prep time. Doubt crept in heavier this time, and it wasn't mine alone. It was shared by my team equally. And during this phase, I had to push myself and my team to work on a better strategy to ensure the fourth win, because the fourth win would, if not guarantee, but it would strengthen our stance of qualifying to the upcoming rounds. And yet, because we had to move forward, round 4 came and we won. Not because the doubt disappeared, but because we chose to engage anyway, to show up fully even in the presence of uncertainty. By the end of day 2, 3 wins meant we were still in the competition, but waiting for confirmation, waiting to see if it was enough to qualify. Alone with our thoughts replaying every argument, every moment which we thought we could have done better, and every mistake. It was a reminder of how unpredictable outcomes can be and how easily the mind can spiral when control is limited. After the elimination round, after these initial rounds, we came up to the eliminations round. We qualified for the octo finals. Now every decision mattered. Our strategy couldn't risk us losing any of the rounds, because one loss meant straight knockout. So there was no safety net now. So up came octo finals. We won the round, and then gradually we moved into quarterfinals, and then came another win, yet with much preparation and much stressing, right? Because there was already 2 days over, and this was like 2 rounds into the third day already. So the semi-final, right before the semi-finals, our team was quite demotivated or more scared, because like we've been debating for nearly 2.5 days continuously. We're really burnt out, we're really stressed. What happens if we lose the semi-finals and don't make it to the finals? It would really be really disappointing. So we had to push each other and convince each other that we have to carry on, we have to focus on a better strategy, because the competition in semi-finals would not be like any which we've faced before, because semi-finals the other team is equally as strong as us or even better than us. So our strategy had to be sharpened. So semi-finals was cleared with a yet bigger crowd than we had in any of the previous rounds. There were more viewers, more pressure on the back. But after these moments, then came the finals, right? Even until that, the most critical time was the lunch break before the finals, right? I looked into my team and saw exhaustion, and this exhaustion wasn't just felt physically, it was mentally as well. And the more than that, I sensed a quiet shift in our mindset. We weren't afraid of losing, we were beginning to accept it, because all these continuous rounds, all these continuous efforts we've put in, one single mistake could ruin our entire chance of winning that tournament. And this thought process, even especially in this scenario, is really dangerous, because the moment you accept defeat before it happens, you stop pushing, you hold back, and you start taking fewer risks, and often this is when the real loss occurs. So we thought of something simple. We didn't come this far to walk into the finals already defeated. We give everything we have and let the outcome follow after that. The finals were intense, a large audience, and unexpectedly tricky motion, and limited 15-minute prep time. I gave my speech focusing on what I could control, my words, my delivery, my strategy, in front of a big crowd, and I didn't let the nervousness seep in, especially when it was my first time addressing a crowd that large. I focused more on what I was delivering rather than who I was delivering it to, and let that thought scare me. And nevertheless, when it ended, uncertainty returned. We were runners up, not what we aimed for, but the experience was more than a score. It clarified something crucial. The biggest losses don't happen on score sheets, they happen in moments when you realize, when you stop showing up fully. And yet, after all this, I realized that persistence is layered. There's a kind of long-term persistence that goes beyond immediate performance. This was what came in and reflected with my journey on Qatar events developing Aqualoop. Now, this was different from the other competitions or simulations I had come up to until then. It wasn't about winning a round, it wasn't giving a speech or performing under pressure, it was building something over time, refining, testing, adjusting, and continuing to work even when progress felt slow or uncertain. There were days when experiments failed, when we had to scrap off our previous approach, our previous ideas, or when the ideas we've come up with until then didn't even seem to work and nothing seemed like moving forward. Unlike the other competitions, there's no immediate feedback there. We have to rethink based on our personal opinions, personal perspectives, and work together as a team, trying to develop the best project so that after the time period, we shouldn't let the thought of our mistakes regret what we gave in. So we were moving forward blind, hoping that the next step will bring more clarity. And that's exactly where most people struggle usually. Not at the beginning, but in the middle. The middle is exhausting. It's repetitive, it's uncertain. The excitement of starting fades and the reward of finishing is far away, and yet in the middle is where persistence is truly tested. The numerous discussions, the numerous thoughts coming in of other teammates, and your personal thoughts. You should also make sure that your personal thoughts don't just cloud over others' opinions just because they come from you. You have to think rationally even in these competitive situations where a single wrong decision would reflect at the end at a time when nothing can be changed again. And Across all these experiences, the environments was different, but the challenge was the same. Do I continue or do I step back? And I have learned that along these processes that the key isn't motivation, it isn't hype or passion, it's clarity. Clarity about that what is within your control. Outcomes can be predictable if we understand this. Recognition may be unpredictable, timing may be unpredictable, but the effort we put in is within our control. And when we start focusing on that, everything shifts. We start measuring progress not by results, but by how much I or we have put in, by consistency, by whether you showed up every day, even though you didn't perform the best yesterday, even if nothing visible happened the previous day, by whether you stayed when giving up would have been easier. Persistence is simple. It is staying when results are invisible, staying when the pressure increases, staying when the process is repetitive. It does not guarantee success, but it guarantees opportunity. The opportunity to reach your goal, to see something through, to grow. This was best seen for me in my experience at Qatar Invents, because as the days came closer to the final presentation day, our project made gradual slow progress, even though we might have some work left up until the end which we could have done better, such as the presentation slides which were running in the background while our project was being presented. Yet we somehow made it satisfactory, made it up to the marks so that it didn't lack anything major. It was simple, yet it was convincing, and we focused more on our prototype and we put in maximum effort into that, and our presentation in the end won us an award which we had aimed right from the start, which was the Best Engineering Design Award. So rather than saying never give up as it's a slogan, I think of it as a more useful idea. Stay a little longer than it feels comfortable to, because often that is where the shift begins, where clarity emerges, where growth happens. Real growth comes up when we move out of our comfort zone, because our comfort zone often limits what we can actually do. It often limits our future side to what the best we could have given in, and it limits the outcome in that way. And over time, these small choices to continue, to stay, to show up despite failures shape not just what we achieve, but also how we approach every challenge afterwards, because our goals don't end with one competition or don't end with one tournament, right? They keep increasing as in when we move on. So such a mindset during the competitions itself shape our resilience, our patience, and our perspective, and ultimately they will improve the direction we move in, because success is visible, failure is visible as well, but are the decisions to continue in quiet uncertainty visible, or are the decisions you make while actual progress which actually contribute to progress visible? No. So these are the things you should actually focus on, because even though they're not visible, they end up impacting what the outcome becomes, right? So that's where the true character is forged. That's where the process begins. So the next time we face the moment when continuing feels exhausting, uncertain, or even pointless, we must remember it is the moment that everything changes, not the moment of winning, not the moment of recognition, but the moment where we choose to stay. So stay, keep going, even when you can't see the results, even when it hurts, even when it seems easier to walk away, because that is what defines the path forward, that is what defines progress, and that is what defines you.